Hello, fellow history nuts. Welcome to the first episode of the series I have decided to entitle History in a Flash. Sorry if anyone else is already using that name. I'm not stealing your name, and you can use my name too if you really want to. It's just a really catchy name. Okay, I'm going back on point a bit there. In this series, I am going to be talking about all things history. Historical characters, historical events, historical thingamajingies. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I'm all things history. Use your imagination. Today I'll be talking about the Battle of Hastings, which is kind of cool, unless you kind of look at it as a not cool because battle's kind of bad, but yeah, cool. The Battle of Hastings was fought on the 14th of October 1066, and it was over in one day, literally. It started roughly at 9 a.m. and it finished roughly at dusk, so that's almost like a 9 to 5 work day. I guess they thought of it as a 9 to 5 work day. I can just hear Dolly Parton now. Although I don't suppose when Dolly recorded that song she sang about thousands of people dying, but you get my point. Anyway, the fight was between this guy called Harold Godwinson, who was King of England at the time, or King of the Britons, and this dude who came over from Normandy called William of Normandy, who was a duke, and he liked conquering stuff, so he was also known as William the Conqueror and William the Bastard, but that reason is just way too complicated to explain. But I guess I will try and explain this difficult problem. You see, William was a duke, as I've mentioned, so therefore his father before him was as well, and his father had a mistress, and this mistress had William, and okay, come to think of it, it wasn't that complicated. William was a bastard. People called him a bastard, but just for the record, I highly doubt anyone ever called him that to his face. He was a very big guy. That, and he could probably just have you killed. So the two armies met at Hastings. But wait, no they didn't. Because actually, the battle didn't take place at Hastings. It took place 6.5 miles away from Hastings, at a place that is now known as Battle. But back then it wasn't known as Battle, so why on earth didn't they call it the Battle of wherever the heck it was fought? I mean, okay, I'm happy now it's not called the Battle of Battle, but that is not the point. Inaccuracy makes my blood boil. There was about a quarter of the Norman army that had horses, but very few of the British army had horses, so most of them were on foot. Not a very fair fight in the end. And just to throw in a bit of a funny, though I suppose he didn't find it very funny, the very first person to die on the battlefield, I'm not making this up, it's recorded and everything, was William's jester, Taillifer. What the heck was a jester doing on a battlefield? Was he there to amuse them in case they got bored? The story of Hastings was stitched onto the Bayeux Tapestry, which was sewn years after the battle took place and now hangs in Bayeux, France. It's sometimes called Queen Matilda's tapestry because it was mistakenly at first thought to have been sewn by her and her ladies-in-waiting, which it wasn't. Queen Matilda was William's wife, by the way, and she was known for being a little bit short. Just kidding, she wasn't known for that, but she was William's wife. She was short. But they did have 9 beautiful children together and a very happy life after he bullied her into marrying him. On the Bayeux Tapestry, there is a man with an arrow in his eye, and it was always popularly believed that that was Harold Godwinson, who, yes, died on the battlefield, which secured a Norman victory. It is now often believed, though, that that is not King Harold, and that he was beaten to death. Actually, I'm not sure which is worse, being beaten to death or shot in the eye. I think I'd rather be shot in the eye. At least you get an honourable mention on the tapestry. Ain't no beaten men on that tapestry. It's not very regal. No one knows what happened to Harold's body after the battle took place. There's no documentation of it. In those days, not a lot of people could read or write, so it was down to people like monks or scholars to do that, and no one wrote it down, or if they did, the documentation was lost. So it's really anyone's guess where he is. Perhaps his ghost still wanders the earth waiting for vengeance. A theory came out in the 13th century that he actually didn't die in battle at all, and that he went on to live out his days in Chester. Now, this theory was written by monks, so even though it was 100 years after the battle took place, people probably still believed them. In the end, though, no matter where Harold's body ended up, or anything, only one thing really mattered: the outcome of the battle. And it's this. William's army won, the Anglo-Saxon era ended, and so did the Battle of Hastings. And that's all I have for today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode on the Battle of Hastings. I've tried to be as accurate as I possibly can be, but like always, sometimes a history can be a bit tricky, especially when it's that long ago. So if I've been a little bit inaccurate, I apologise. I'm not a historian, and I've tried to do the best research I can. So thanks for watching, and that is Happy History Nut out and off like a dirty shirt. Oh, I can't believe I almost forgot. When William the Conqueror finally died at the ripe old age of 59, his body was so big they hadn't made the tomb space big enough. Or maybe they just were idiots and they didn't measure. I don't know. Either way, they tried to squish him in there, and his body burst. And the smell was so horrendous that they did the only thing they possibly could. They left. What can you do?